From LinkedIn News, I'm Leah Smart, host of Everyday Better, an award-winning podcast dedicated to personal development. Join me every week for captivating stories and research to find more fulfillment in your work and personal life. Listen to Everyday Better on the LinkedIn Podcast Network, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
From LinkedIn News, I'm Jessie Hempel, host of the Hello Monday podcast. Start your week with the Hello Monday podcast. We'll navigate career pivots. We'll learn where happiness fits in. Listen to Hello Monday with me, Jessie Hempel, on the LinkedIn Podcast Network or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello, my friends, and welcome to another exciting episode of Negotiate Anything. This show is produced by the American Negotiation Institute, and with over 5 million downloads and listeners in over 180 countries, listeners just like you have made this the #1 negotiation podcast in the world. Hi, my name is Kwame Christian, and I am the founder and CEO of the American Negotiation Institute. Here at ANI, we believe that the best things in life are on the other side of difficult conversations, and we are passionate about providing you with the best content that will help you to make your difficult conversations easier, both at work and at home. Lastly, I want to remind you that we offer consulting and conduct trainings, both virtually and in person, all around the world. Our focus is in 3 main areas. First, negotiation and conflict resolution. Second, leadership. And lastly, diversity, equity, and inclusion. Check the link in the description below to learn more about how we could work with you and your team. And now, without further ado, let's jump into the interview. Andy, thanks for joining us today, my friend.
Thank you so much for having me here, Kwame.
Yeah, it is our pleasure. So how would you get us started by telling us a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Thank you. I'm delighted to. I'm Andy Prisco. I'm the founder of JUMPSTART Mastery. JUMPSTART Mastery is an epistemic environment, a learning environment for our partners in public safety, behavioral health, and private enterprise in developing consciousness, awareness, and skills in crisis de-escalation. Up until I started JUMPSTART Mastery last year, I have a long history in psychiatric care and services in the forensic environment where mental health and the justice system overlap with one another. Generally, that's expressed through unfortunate events that can occur in the lives of people where there's some kind of felony event and mental illness has been determined to be potentially participant in that event. That needs to be evaluated. If it is involved, there are a series of laws and actions and procedures that follow people who find themselves in that system. And in many cases, people served in forensic care systems are there involuntarily, and they're in maximum security environments. And just by virtue of the math, bringing people together under those conditions can bring about very serious episodes of anger, aggression, and violence. And that's where I've spent, a considerable amount of time over the last 20 years. And coming into the common space that we're in, learning about delightful people like you and other members like Julia Ewart and others in ANI, and collaborating with people at the organizational levels in mental health and government has just been a delightful experience for me in just sharing what we have come to learn in our space and to collaborate. So in that way, I feel so very blessed to have been asked to come and just talk about a little bit of what we do and to share with you. So thank you.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Listen, when Julia Ewart tells me to do something, I just do it. So if she says you're good, then you're good. That was my entire vetting process. So that was good. Well, yeah. So today in this episode is going to be a fun one because we're going to talk about what to do in these difficult conversations when something unexpected happens. And after you told us about your background, I feel like I would be doing the audience a disservice if I didn't give you space to tell a story here. Because when you think about all of the work that you did in the past, what is one story that you think encapsulates kind of the high points of what it is that you do for the audience?
Okay. In a psychiatric care and services setting, when people get angry or present aggression or are violent, this is also true in being a parent when our kids do that, or if you're a provider in the youth and family environment and people serve do that. We have to maintain relationship with people after that event. We don't get to go away or turf the relationship to someone else. So very frequently, I had to engage with people who were diagnosed with schizophrenia or schizoaffective disorder or bipolar disorder and charged with some kind of felony. And while they were either trying to have their competency restored so they could assist their attorney in their defense, or if they were satisfying a long-term sentence under the criminal code in a psychiatric setting, we had responsibility to, even after they presented assaultive behavior, to assist this person on a path toward recovery. So theoretically, on that basis, we could be fighting with the same people every day and have to go back to work and provide services to the same person. And to do that in a way that was in alignment with the very best values of care and services, and particularly in honor of the Hippocratic Oath to do no harm. How do you do that when someone wants to spit on you every day or throw their human waste at you, or they're waiting for an opportunity to bludgeon you with a bunch of AA batteries in a sock that they've taken from the remote control every day and it wasn't detected? And then how do you lead someone from that state to a vision that they could have a life beyond where they are and have the freedom that they, from their perspective, had prior to arriving? There was an occasion where a person served in a place that I worked had attempted to set fire to his room by taking a paperclip, putting it in an outlet, creating an arc, getting that to start the vinyl mattress that he would sleep on. Smoke filled the entire congregate care area. We had to move this person to a different area after evacuating a number of people because he was able to successfully start the fire. When we moved him, a person who was monitoring him fell asleep. He took the magnetic key card off of that person, moved through 2 magnetic locks to a non-patient care area, and barricaded himself in a room with a knife taped to a crutch that was taken from the staff break room, and then surrounded himself with bleach ammonia and other chemicals and waited.
Oh my gosh.
Now, I knew this guy. I knew him. So relationship drove some initial decisions by our security leadership. I got a phone call. Hey, so-and-so has barricaded himself in a room. This is what's happened. There's armored vehicles here and people with armor and rifles and less lethal. And this is a psychiatric care and services setting. This is going to freak out hundreds of people. Can you come get so-and-so out of this room? Okay. So I came down, and I'm the only guy. Now, my background, Kwame, is fire EMS, right? So there's equipment that we use, and we have a different worldview than our law enforcement partners, but we know that we need each other and we work together. And when I show up, I'm there as an employee. I'm not there as a firefighter. But they all have gas masks. They all have breathing apparatus. And I'm the only guy in the hot zone that doesn't. So, and meanwhile, they're trying to install cameras into the room where he is so they can see him. And I'm like, hey guys, is there a reason I can't get a BA? Can I get a mask too if he's going to create chlorine gas, or am I just got to be the guy that talks and I don't get it? So they all laughed and chuckled, and I kind of chuckled, but I had work to do. So the short version is the crisis negotiator from the Joint Metro SWAT team was there and was wonderfully collaborative. saying, Andy, do you have rapport with this person? I do. And we also have very methodological principles that we use in psychiatric care and services de-escalation. I'd love to be able to try. He said, go ahead. Wonderful. So I had a couple of officers in armor and shields walk up with me to the door. I stood behind them. And essentially, because in the interest of time, I don't want to get too deep in the weeds, but using principles of validation, referring to shared values, proposing alternatives, and if necessary, sequencing. If we had to explain negative consequences, if I had to say, so-and-so, if you continue this course of action, here's how the dynamic entry is going to be bad for you and potentially bad for us. However, if you cooperate with me and do these other things, here are the advantages that can provide everybody. When we sequence negative consequences followed by positive consequences, that's deliberate. We do that to render influence. The short version, Kwame, is we were able to get this person to stop what they were doing, dismantle the barricade, dismantle the chemical threat, dismantle the fire threat, put down the force multiplier of the crutch and the knife, and I was able to walk this person to a patrol car and move them on to the next stage in the model. The reason that this is important is because I was not a police officer when I did this. I was working in psychiatric care and services as a crisis responder, and we collaborated with the police department to bring that event to a close. That event started the psychiatric emergency response team that I founded here in the Pacific Northwest, and that's the basis of that legislatively funded program today, was that event.
Wow. I mean, that is my official summary. That's incredible. That's incredible. And I think it's just a great example of how these techniques that we're going to talk about today are applicable in the most difficult of circumstances. And one of the reasons I wanted to give you an opportunity to share that is because, well, first, it would be entertaining. I think so, right? And then it would be, that
story always is.
It always is, man. And then the other one is it just highlights the skills utilized under duress. And for the majority of people who are listening to this podcast or watching on YouTube, however you want to consume it, you're probably not dealing with stakes that high. You're probably not dealing with like impending doom of some sort. And so the thing is, yes, you have agency in these situations. You have an impact. You can have an impact. And a lot of times we flippantly blame the other side and we throw around the term crazy. Oh, this person's crazy. I can't negotiate with them. They're unreasonable, irrational, those type of things. Okay. Please listen to that story and then tell me why you cannot have a positive impact on the outcome of the conversation. So yes,
brilliantly articulated, Kwame. Yeah.
Thank you.
The whole notion that we abdicate our duty to influence when someone else presents anger, aggression, and violence arguably is one of the fundamental causes of the uptick that we're seeing in so many aversive events out in community. And I think that you and I have a very deep shared interest in supporting people in developing these competencies. I had to do it professionally for a state governor's cabinet agency in a very, very specific area of service. But the principles apply. The principles, things that you and I throw around as common everyday language, minimal encouragers, paralanguage, validation, reflection statements, reflecting the unverbalized, articulating the unverbalized, motivational interview, these things that we throw around. I do think we have a great opportunity in our shared negotiation space for all of us to get our definitions clear and for all of us to learn the way that each of us are playing the music. How did you voice that chord on the guitar? How did you voice that chord on the piano? Oh, but that's still a B major 7, so you still have the 3rd, the 5th, the 7th, and the root. Yeah, but I just voiced it this way. Oh, okay. So, I mean, we have this great opportunity to really understand, hey, what you're calling this, we're calling this. You use that principle too? Yeah, we use that principle. Oh, great. Okay, so, we're using that principle under these high-stakes circumstances. Well, we use that principle at the negotiation table when there are millions of dollars on the line. Wow. What can I learn from you? What can you learn from me? That's what I think we're starting, Kwame. People like you and me and Julia and Scott Tillema and Andy Young and Jack and Gary and all these people who are out there sharing this stuff. We all have this great interest in all of us coming together about it. And that, to me, is the most exciting thing that's happening right now in our space.
Does your company invest in professional development training? If you believe that your team would benefit from a negotiation workshop, all you need to do is go to our website, fill out the workshop request form, and then we'll set up a time to chat. These workshops are completely customizable, and we've done them all around the country. Negotiation and conflict resolution skills are beneficial across all professions, but they're especially useful in procurement, purchasing, sales, sourcing, and contract management. Our calendar is filling up quickly, and we even have some workshops scheduled for next year. If you think you might want one, I'd suggest reaching out soon so you don't miss out. Check out the link in the description to learn more. And now, back to the show.
Hey you, I'm Andrew Seaman. Do you want a new job? Or do you want to move forward in your career? Well, you should listen to my weekly show called Get Hired with Andrew Seaman. We talk about it all, and it's waiting for you, yes you, wherever you get your podcasts.
Brace the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/marketer. Terms and conditions apply.
100%. I think about it in terms of intellectual cross-training. And that's why we have the show called Negotiate Anything. So we have people with all sorts of different backgrounds sharing the skills that work. And then you realize, wait a second, that worked in that situation. I can see very clearly how it could work in this situation too. And so we all learn together. And I think the more of us that do this, the better off the world would be.
Hear, hear. And that's so true. And when you look at the guests that you have, you've been at this for a while. I mean, Negotiate Anything's been around for how many years now?
6 years now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tremendous guests, vast backgrounds, vast knowledge bases and experience. And, to some extent, Kwame, you've been a pioneer in this phenomena that I'm describing, of developing community around these ideas. And, during our green room talk, I had mentioned I'm getting calls now that I'm in the professional training space and I'm not working for the man anymore, as it were, and I'm doing my own thing, right? I get calls now from organizations I never would have expected, airlines that have to deal with the 3 most common occurrences in people getting dragged off planes. Number 1, drunk. Number 2, won't keep their mask on. Number 3, people transient or homeless in the terminal. Those 3 events befall our agents in air travel more than any other. And those events drive calls to complaint lines more than any other. And equipping personnel in managing those events in a way where we can reduce organizational embarrassment, reduce negative outcomes, and enhance customer service and customer appreciation, and frankly, staff wellness. If we can support people who have the responsibility to engage these events with meaningful training and competencies, we impact retention, we impact morale. Our air travel partners are burning out. Our youth and family service organizations who are now capturing more and more work from our government systems of care and services. We're seeing it across the nation. More and more private youth and family and behavioral health organizations are getting money to do this work because the government systems are going to start divesting. Those folks need the support to maintain the morale, maintain the wellness features of their employment environment. In Orange County, California, tremendous amount of work going on with healthcare organizations stepping into the response space for people living with houselessness and homelessness and polysubstance issues and mental illness. And public safety is doing that less and less individually. Now they're collaborating. Now people who are not sworn officers are responding to the encampments, responding to the communities, responding to the calls to the emergency response system. And they need the competencies to do that. And I feel very blessed to be able to provide those as a function of the space that we developed them in, which was very, very violent, very high stakes all the time, every day. And then somewhere in between there, you had to maintain a relationship with people after these events. So we got very good at that.
Yeah. Oh, this is great. And I think, Andy, this gives us an awesome opportunity to segue into our focus for today, which is how we deal with the unexpected in these situations. Because what we'll realize, the more you get into these difficult conversations, the more you'll realize that you cannot perfectly script them. It's just not possible. Every conversation will have a unique fingerprint. And if you go in too rigidly, then you're not going to be flexible enough to take advantage of these opportunities, because that's really what it is. The unexpected presents you with opportunities. And if you see it as such, then you'll be able to take advantage of said opportunities. But if you see it as a problem, like, I wish they would just do what I thought they would do.
Right.
Then you're going to run into trouble.
When are they going to rediscover my intelligence? You know,
or discover it for the first time.
Right. Or discover it. Yeah, yes. Exactly.
No, this is good. So let's talk about that for a second. So when we think about handling the unexpected in these difficult conversations, what does that look like when it's done well?
You know, whether it's Bruce Lee was probably the biggest embodiment of this idea that I'd like to share. Bruce was a student and devotee of all the arts. His brother was the Hong Kong fencing champion. He immersed himself into fencing. When he encountered physical techniques that were unusual to him, he immersed himself in the school that those techniques were born in, particularly like wrestling and ground fighting. Bruce was a devotee of all the arts, but when the fight came, Bruce forgot all of it and allowed his personal expression, his individual expression, to be the compass of his course of action. In the negotiation space, we all have hundreds of techniques that we use and labels that we've given those techniques. But I will say that what we know from biology and neurophysiology and schools of thought like polyvagal theory from Dr. Stephen Porges, we know that when someone presents something unexpected, that does something biologically in the limbic system. And when that occurs, when we are in triggered states, our capacity to engage in diversity of thought and expression is diminished. So if I were presented someone who is angry or proposing potential assault or worse, the first idea that I would anchor myself in would be validation. And I use that word to describe an idea. The idea is to confer the notion that that other person is seen, heard, and understood. Why do I want to do that? Well, if they're already in that state, and we know, it's pretty common language now that limbic system activation means fight, flight, I don't want to be perceived as a threat. So I have to begin to diffuse any idea that I am one. And the way that I do that is by aligning myself with their experience of me in a way where I reframe any idea that they have that I'm a threat. I have to use minimal encouragers, paralanguage, reflection statements, articulating the unverbalized, demonstrating curiosity, physically paying attention, to confer the notion that they're seen, heard, and understood. A lot of people get stuck there. So I did all the validation. I let them know I understood. Now what? Now I have to leverage that. I have to use that to get to collaboration. Gary Nesner expressed this in the behavioral change stairway model. In psychiatric care and services, we express it differently. In social learning psychology, we express it differently. In the boardroom, you probably have a model. But at the end of the day, the model is we have to gain relationship to leverage it. How do you leverage it when someone presents unexpected anger, aggression, or violence? We begin to reframe the relationship. This isn't about me versus you. This is about us and a shared value system, us and a law, us and a rule. And then we propose alternatives. If we try this, here's how it may work out. The neurobiological step that occurs in between referring to a law and proposing a choice is someone has to engage their diversity of thought and expression. So you're influencing someone to get out of their limbic state and get into what we would describe as higher cortical functions or evolved brain function. We're deliberately jump-starting that like we're behavioral AEDs, like we have the paddles. We're waiting for our opportunity. We're trying to shock someone's evolved brain into diversity of thought or expression. We do that sequentially with validation, referral to big ideas that are shared, proposing, and describing how it serves all of us. When resistance is presented, we go back to validation and we run it again. And generally speaking, one of two things happens. They either engage in a very collaborative process or they go along with us somewhat resistant, but there wasn't a fight to get there. There wasn't a physical encounter. There wasn't a use of force. There was ultimately cooperation, even if they're irritated about it. That's generally the outcome. And I'm not saying it works every single time and we never have to go to these extremes, but the idea here is that in order to do all of that, I have to be self-regulated. If I allow myself to get triggered, if I allow that thing that someone just said to get to me, I'm going to lose my own capacity for diversity of thought or expression. So I'm not going to be able to think through this problem. So if you're being heavy-handed with me across the negotiation table and I'm feeling I'm going to lose something, loss, disrespect, shame, abandoned, or that some kind of unfairness or injustice is going to befall me, I have responsibilities in that millisecond to suspend reactivity to those things so I can stay focused on what I got to do. And the hardest job in our space, Kwame, is self-regulation. It's not these techniques and these things we do to influence people. It's how do we avoid being triggered when someone spits on you, tells you to go F yourself, or in a far more sophisticated way, begins to tell you how they're going to put you out of business. And right? And you're going to have to engage this person in a way where you're going to render influence. So we have very specific practical training and modules that run people through those sequential thinking and speaking activities to render influence. So if someone, and I'll be extreme in the humorous for a moment, if someone pointed an arrow at me from a bow and said, you have 5 seconds to describe how you would meet someone when they're presenting something unexpected and you have to influence it. First thing I'm going to do is issue validation. Then I'm going to refer to a shared value, policy, rule, or law. Then I'm going to propose a choice, and then I'm going to describe how it serves them. Okay, and then you put the bow down. That's how I would do that.
Wow. What a great summary. This is great. Okay. So here, let me summarize it in general here. So it sounds like, just summarizing this, when we're presented with these challenges, when somebody's highly emotional, the first challenge is essentially psychological, but it starts within ourselves too. Because if we're triggered, we're not going to be able to do what it takes. The tools and techniques that you mentioned, they're not difficult to understand. They're difficult to execute because you will likely be triggered at that point.
Brilliant.
So before we start talking about mastering somebody else's emotions, we have to learn how to master our own. That's one big takeaway. And then we often have to recognize that, too, the person is not in a psychological or emotional state where they can even receive our message, because introducing data, being right, being logical, those were things that you didn't say, but those are things that we often resort to initially, and they do not help when somebody's in a triggered state. So we have to accept the fact that they're not in the right mental state, and our first order of business is to get them into the correct mental state. And so really what we're doing is not focusing on overcoming barriers. We are diminishing barriers to persuasion and connection to make the rest of the conversation easier.
100% right. And I would express it differently, but same. We bring order to someone's chaos in a way they don't even know we're doing. When they're in that state of emotional dysregulation or proneness to discontrol, anyone's ability to order or rank order or organize things is incredibly diminished. Sequencing thoughts and statements brings order to someone's chaos. And which is in my space, Kwame, we have an agenda to drive. We have to change something to prevent something bad from happening. At the boardroom table, you have a chess game with master players, and everybody's there looking 5, 6, 7 moves ahead. I'd even say, if I sat at that table with you, I'd be like the guy who sat next to you and said, Kwame, I am way over my head. I'm going to watch you and shut my mouth, because my outcome is 60 seconds away, 120 seconds away. It has the potential to be very serious, life or death, but it's right around the corner. You're looking at it's almost like you have a celestial navigation map and you're plotting your way through the universe with the use of these principles. That's a high order chess game that uses the same principles. You would just adapt the thinking to that environment. But you summed it up beautifully. We bring order to someone's discontrol. We bring ordered thinking to someone's chaos. And it can happen in the negotiation table. It could happen on the street. It can happen in the ER. It can happen in the post office. It happens all over the place. And any good negotiator is doing that, is bringing structure and order to someone's chaos when they're dealing with these unexpected moments, like you said.
Absolutely. Oh, this is good. This is really good. And so I know a lot of people are listening and saying, man, I like that Andy guy. I wonder how to get in touch with him. So before you go, let the listeners know again about your company and how they can get in touch with you.
You're so good. First, I have a profile on LinkedIn, Andy Prisco. Feel free to look me up and send a connection request or a follow, and I'll do the same with you. The name of my organization is JUMPSTART Mastery. The website is jumpstartmastery.com. When you get there, you'll see that there are masterclasses that are available for purchase. But more importantly, you'll have access to the epistemic environment, the learning environment. You can enter that environment for free using your LinkedIn, Facebook, or Google profile. It's on Mighty Networks, and you're in. And you're in an environment with hundreds of people with a shared interest, people from public safety, behavioral health, and private enterprise. If you're a threat manager with a big company, a risk manager, if you're a training administrator, if you're a patrol officer, if you're a registered nurse, people are all coming together to learn more about crisis de-escalation in this space. There's a free access level. There's a subscription level that gives you access to weekly trainings every week. I have people in the space delivering modules of training to raise awareness and measure skills. And we learn and grow together, and it's been a delightful place to be. I hope to see you there.
This is great. Andy, thank you again, my friend. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Kwame. This has been super delightful, and I look forward to more conversations with you.
Congratulations! You've just joined an elite club. By listening to a full episode, you're now officially on the Negotiate Anything team. So welcome aboard. What most team members do is they subscribe to the podcast because that allows them to automatically get the latest episodes of the show. The best things in life lie on the other side of difficult conversations. Keep learning, keep practicing, and keep getting better. Your relationships will improve, your career will soar, and you'll have the confidence you need to get the most out of these crucial conversations. Again, thank you for joining the team. We're excited to have you, and I will see you in the next episode. I'll catch you later.